Hi, I'm Amida Castro and I'm an English teacher. I've been a teacher for more than 20 years and I've taught very small children, pre-first children, all the way to university and adults, like people that work in companies. So I have a pretty wide experience. And in all those years, one of the big problems is getting people to learn the irregular verbs. So here I am giving you my strategy for them to learn the irregular verbs. So listen, um, how to learn the irregular verbs list. I will give you a list of 80 verbs, which are very, very common. I think they are the most common 80 verbs, irregular verbs. Now, the idea is that you have to connect. Well, first of all, you have to memorize them, right? So this does imply a lot of repetition, but it's going to be really, really easy. There's not going to be any struggle or any extra effort, but you do have to have two very important things. You need to focus, okay? Because if you give attention to what you're doing, even if it's for just a very short period of time, in many, many times, it will really give you results. So you have to focus. And the second thing is you have to give it meaning, okay, to what you're listening to and what you're looking at. So the idea to learn these irregular verbs is that you have to listen to the verbs while you read them. And you're going to do it once. You're only going to do it once. You're going to listen to the verbs. I'll give you the audio. I'll give you the list. And you're going to listen and read them at the same time. Now, very important. You should not only listen to them. If you are not a native speaker of English, and most of my students are Spanish speakers, so if you are listening to the verbs, you will listen to them, and when you try to visualize the verb or the word, you will be writing it in Spanish, okay? Same goes if you just look at the verb and try to memorize the verb. You will read it in Spanish. You will not read it in English. And the phonetics of English and Spanish are very, very different. So the idea is to help your brain connect the correct phonetics to the combination of letters that you find in the words. And the only way to do that in a very unconscious way, but very effective, is by looking at the word while you're listening to the word. So you pay attention to the word and to the sound, and you connect it, right? Now, you're going to do that, and then you're going to let 2 or 3 hours go by as a minimum, okay? You can let the whole day go by if you want to, but 2 or 3 hours, let 2 or 3 hours go by, and then listen to it again. Never. It will take you 4 minutes to listen to these verbs, okay? So it doesn't take you a long time. So what you should never do, and if you are trying to use this list to answer an exam for tomorrow, forget it. It's not going to help you. This is a little bit every day for a long period of time, and it's not really that long. You do this, you listen to the verbs, let 2 or 3 hours go by or more, and then listen to it again. So I always tell my students, listen to it in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night, no, in the evening before you go to bed. So repeat it 2 or 3 times during the day, and in a month, more or less, if you do it constantly, you will have learned them in a month. Maybe it will take you a little longer. Maybe it will take you less. I have had students that learn them really, really quickly. It really depends on how much you already know of English, how connected you are to the language, etc. But you will learn them really, really fast, and you will spell them correctly, and you will be able to pronounce them correctly. But you need to do these regularly, okay? So that's the idea. Listen to the verbs while you're reading them. Let 2 or 3 hours go by, and then listen and read them again. Repeat it 2 or 3 times a day, and in a month, more or less, you will have learned them, most of them. It normally takes a little longer to know them like completely 100%. Normally my students are, because when I do this with students, every month or every week, we have a quiz, and they are pretty good at remembering 95% of them, okay? So it's not that bad. The spelling is always the problem most of the time. Like people get confused, but little by little, the more they listen, the more they read, they know them. Now, my students have gone from knowing absolutely zero to practically knowing 90% of them in a month. So that's pretty good. Okay. And then now, why do it? Why should we do it? Or how do I encourage my students to do it? Well, first of all, you have to learn them because you need the pieces of the puzzle to be able to use them. So English, when you're learning a language, the language is a puzzle. It's a big puzzle. There's a lot of pieces that you have to start putting together so that it makes sense. But if you don't have the pieces, if you cannot recall the pieces to use them in the past or to use them in the present perfect, or to identify what is the present of a verb, well, then you don't have the pieces, and how are you going to use them? So yeah, of course, using the verbs a lot will help you really learn them. But if you don't have the pieces to recall and to use them when you need them, and you have to be looking for them, it becomes very, very stressful and very, very difficult. So the best thing you can do is to have them there, right? So you need the pieces of the puzzle. So the only way to have the pieces is to learn them. And this is something even English speakers have to do. They have to learn them. Sorry, I moved forward. So the only way to have the pieces is to learn them, right? And it takes no effort. This exercise takes no effort. When I was studying, they made me memorize them. I had to study them for hours and hours, and I had to be writing them. They would ask me to repeat them again and again and again. And that was really stressful, tiresome, and very, very, very boring. So you can focus for 4 minutes. I know it's not, wow, super enthusiastic now about it, but it's 4 minutes. Anybody can focus for 4 minutes and pay attention for 4 minutes, okay? So, and with this exercise, you will be making the connections with the phonetics of the words and their spelling, which is something that you want to do when it comes to English, because that will help you to improve your reading, your spelling, and your pronunciation. Okay, it will get you so much more in touch with the language. That's why I also recommend a lot to my students that they should be watching TV in English with subtitles in English so that they can be reading what they are listening to. And that's a really good exercise, something that you can do all the time with things that you already know, movies that you've already seen, series that you already know, because you've seen them so many times, and a lot of us have those programs that we really enjoy, or cartoons that we really enjoy, and we've seen them many times. So you can do that with those things that you are already familiar with, that you enjoy, and listen to them and put the subtitles in English so that you can be reading it and making these connections. Okay, now in the description of this video, you will find a link to download the audios of the verbs, a link for 2 different lists of the verbs, one with images and one without images, and a link to a video with only the audio and the images, okay? At the end of this video, you will also find this section of the video where there's only the audio and the images, so that you can get the idea of what you should be doing, like looking at the verbs while you're listening to them. And now let's go to the images. Look, this is one of the list, and this is the other list that I give my students. The previous list, this one, I use it for very small kids that are learning, because I do use it with, I don't know, elementary kids, right? And I do think that it's a good idea for them to start learning the verbs. I mean, if you imagine you did this every day in your classroom, 4 minutes in the morning when you're starting your class, one of the activities that you have to do is listen to them, and you did it for a whole year. By the end of the year, they already know them, okay? They know the verbs, they can tell you the verbs by heart, and they will probably be able to write them and spell them correctly. So it's a really good idea. And it doesn't take any effort. Now, some students that I've had don't know the verbs. They don't even know the meaning of the verbs. So one of the first things I do when that's the case is that I ask them to, we review to use this list, and I ask them to review with me all the meanings, so that they understand the picture, so that when they see the picture, they understand what that means, right? To be is I am, to something that exists, I exist. Become, to transform yourself. So I explained all of the pictures one by one, and I give it meaning to them. It's very important. Those are the two elements that you need. You need attention for 4 minutes. Pay attention to what you're looking at and listening to, and meaning. Now, another thing that I insist, well, this is what I do with kids, very small kids. And of course, if they're coloring, because then they can color it and everything if they want to. But I have used this list also for adults and for teenagers. I don't ask them to color it if they don't want to. No, because if they don't want to, some kids stop liking coloring at 7, no, 6, 7, so they don't like coloring anymore. We can't expect everyone to like it. So the objective is not the color. The objective is for them to look at the picture and understand that this is to break something. This is to buy, right? Okay, so, and like I said, so you also have to have meaning, but not only the meaning of the word, but also of the sense of the word. Okay, so we have be, was, were, which is the past, and been, something that's already been. It's already done, right? It's there. It's been. Become, became, become. I always tell them. In fact, when I'm listening to the list in the classroom with them, I move my hands. Now, become, became, become. Begin, began, begun. Buy, bid, bitten. And later on, everybody's chanting it and saying it and making the movements. When they're very young, they love doing that. But that's the idea, to have a sense of the language, no? Something that happens now, well, that happens in the present, that happened in the past, and that it's already done. It's finished, it's done. So when you listen to it with this meaning in mind, you really start understanding how to use them, even before you start learning the tenses. So it's really helpful to have the irregular verbs before you go into the past and you go into the present perfect. Okay, so let's listen to the verbs. Okay, so have a good listening, and that's practically the strategy. And like I said, it takes no effort. You just have to listen to it, look at the verbs, pay attention for 4 minutes, and give it meaning while you are actively listening to it. Okay, guys, well, thank you for your attention, and I'll leave you with the irregular verbs.
Irregular verbs. Be, am, is, are. Was, were, been. Become, became, become. Begin, began, begun. Bite, bit, bitten. Bleed, bled, bled. Break, broke, broken. Bring, brought, brought. Build, built, built. Burn, burnt, burnt. Buy, bought, bought. Catch, caught, caught. Choose, chose, chosen. Come, came, come. Cost, cost, cost. Cut, cut, cut. Do, did, done. Draw, drew, drawn. Drink, drank, drunk. Drive, drove, driven. Eat, ate, eaten. Fall, fell, fallen. Feed, fed, fed. Feel, felt, felt. Fight, fought, fought. Find, found, found. Fly, flew, flown. Forget, forgot, forgotten. Freeze, froze, frozen. Get, got, got. Give, gave, given. Go, went, gone. Grow, grew, grown. Hang, hung, hung. Have, had, had. Hear, heard, heard. Hide, hid, hidden. Hit, hit, hit. Hold, held, held. Hurt, hurt, hurt. Keep, kept, kept. Know, knew, known. Learn, learned, learnt. leave, left, left, lend, lent, lent, let, let, lie, lay, lane, lose, lost, lost, make, made, made, mean, meant, meant, meet, met, met, pay, paid, paid, put, put, read, 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 ride, rode, ridden, ring, rang, rung, run, ran, run, say, said, said, see, saw, seen, sell, sold, sold, send, sent, sent, show, showed, shown, sing, sang, sung, sit, sat, sat, sleep, slept, slept, speak, spoke, spoken, spell, spelt, spelt, spend, spent, spent, stand, stood, stood, steal, stole, stolen, swim, swam, swum, take, took, taken, teach, taught, taught, tell, told, told, think, thought, thought, throw, threw, thrown, understand, understood, understood, wake, woke, woken, wear, wore, worn, win, won, won, write, wrote, written.